Hello and welcome to Module 5. I decided to do another video announcement. It is hard to believe we're in Module 5, but congratulations for getting through Module 4, which was a big one. Module 4, you participated in a peer review of your writing plan. And so I look forward to reading all the peer review responses this week in the discussion. And hopefully based on that feedback and the feedback you got from me on the writing plan, you are all set to write your draft. And so this week, the draft is due. And I'm actually going to be looking at the Module 5 requirements and go down a few of those criteria right now for the things that I'll be looking for as you write your draft. And so based on the feedback, not only from me, but also from your peer, as well as from the Writing Center, other friends, a lot of you said you're going to have other people looking at your work. Based on all that feedback, you're going to be writing your draft. The draft is a lot more formal than the writing plan and writing notes have been. Before we talked about you being able to use I, being more informal, reflecting a lot on your own writing. And now it's time to actually write the draft. So in addition to looking at thesis identification this week, and thesis is actually one of my favorite parts of a draft, it should be the backbone, the reason that the entire paper exists. And it should be somewhere near the beginning. So you're going to be looking at how to identify a thesis statement this week, as well as actually writing your draft. So you'll be doing some thesis identification work, readings, and 5.3 an activity on that. And then you're going to be writing about your plan to draft right before you actually draft it. So the last minute thoughts, reflections, questions you might have about drafting in 5.5. And then 5.6, you actually write the draft. And this is what you'll be graded on for the most part this week, in addition to the thesis identification and which is 5.3 and 5.5. Those are little activities, but the bulk of this week you'll be working on the 5.6 assignment, the draft. And so as you work on constructing your persuasive essay draft, I'm just going to be going through the guidelines right now and looking at the different methods you're going to be doing that. You're going to be doing an introduction. You're going to have a thesis statement. Then you want to look at your bodies and supporting paragraphs. We talked a lot about paragraph development when thinking about not only the main point you're going to have for each paragraph, like why is it a paragraph in the first place, but also what supporting evidence you're going to put in there. Supporting evidence are your sources. So anything from outside your head, you're going to be using. And I'm going to be looking for paraphrases. And so paraphrases and or direct quotes should all give some kind of credit in the parentheses. I always do this within the essay. So those are called in-text citations. And you'll be doing that not in every paragraph, I would say, but throughout the entire paper, and especially in those body paragraphs where you're looking at the main point of your paragraph, but then also what evidence you have that supports your points in each paragraph. And then the conclusion should be the most important parts of your essay, what you're going to leave the reader with, what recommendations you have, what solutions you have to the problem, in addition to looking at reiterating your thesis statement. You don't actually have to say it verbatim again, but you want to really bring the reader full circle and think about what your thesis statement was in the beginning, because it really should anchor the entire essay all the way to the end. One important point I also want to bring up is the counter argument. So the specifically the supporting paragraphs, the body paragraphs, should have a counter argument paragraph where you're looking at the opposing view. And so a lot of you use the Opposing Viewpoints database. I did say you could use other databases as well to find an opposing viewpoint source. But now you actually want an opposing viewpoint or counter argument, same thing, in your paragraph. And so with that in your draft, you should at some point bring up an opposing viewpoint. And so a lot of you have it already, you have it planned, because this really helps strengthen your argument. So you bring up your opposing viewpoint as well as a supporting source for that counter argument. And then you want to think about how you're going to have a rebuttal for that argument within that paragraph, right? And so you bring up an opposing viewpoint statement in the paragraph, you bring in some evidence for that, and then you have a rebuttal maybe at the end of that paragraph to really show that you know your opposing viewpoint, and this is why you are providing evidence against it to really strengthen your argument and your thesis for the entire essay. And so those are the elements of the draft that you should be submitting. Again, you're not talking about what you will do, what you would do, what challenges and barriers. That was all for the plan and notes. Now you're actually sitting down to write a draft. Pretend that this article is actually going to be published in a newspaper, or it's an article you're writing for a magazine. It really helps to think about what audiences. They don't care about your reflection on your own writing now. That was for the writing class. Now, when you write a draft, you think about where it would be published, something persuasive, an op-ed or something in a newspaper. You really want to be thinking about that because it really helps to think about the formality and the professional tone that's different in a draft compared to when you're writing a plan or notes. And I think what else I wanted to go through really quickly is the rubric. And so you can really use this as a checkoff list. A lot of elements I've already went over, but you can use it as a checkoff list. So looking at introduction overview, introduction thesis, body intent, body paragraphs, opposing viewpoint, conclusion review, conclusion insights, and then articulation of response. And if you go to the rubric in the PDF in the module, you'll be able to see this and use it as a checkoff list. So that's a big week. We've had a few big weeks. But hopefully after this hurdle of having that first draft, you'll be working with this for the rest of the semester and really tweaking it and editing it and revising this draft. So make sure it's the most formal it can be, the most polished it can be. Really work on those citations. If you have any questions about citations, you can take a look at the OWL at Purdue. It's one of my favorite sources, or the Writing Center website within SNHU. Those are two great sources that you can look at, or you can ask me. I'm really into having short emails where I can answer them fast. So if you have any questions, again, you can email me, post the general question discussion board this week, and I look forward to reading your drafts after this week. And I also look forward to looking at how you were as a peer reviewer, because as we all know, with peer review can really actually help you as a writer. So have a great week and happy Monday, everybody.